Finally, the Viscounts gave up and accepted their relative poverty, and eventually came to think of the lost treasure as genuinely lost. But Blaine, never the most practical of men, started dreaming about the ancient treasure almost as soon as it became legally his. Not taking the ghost too seriously, he set out with some friends and some of the villagers to see if they could find the elusive vault. They'd barely gotten inside the manor when something spooked the horses. The party rushed back outside just in time to see them snap their tethers and gallop off. Several of the group were sent to round up the horses, but there was no sign of what had spooked them. When Blaine turned to go back inside to the house, he looked up and saw a young, dark-haired woman watching from the upstairs window. She stepped away when he called to her, and when they arrived at the bedroom where she'd been, the room was empty. The dust lying thick on the floor was undisturbed. Scrawled in fresh blood on the wall were the words, "I shall not rest here, all my kin rest with me." As Blaine was withdrawing nervously, a startled cry came from one of the men downstairs. Blaine rushed down and followed a trail of footprints into the dining room, where the tracks ended abruptly. A second message was scratched there in the dust. "Soon, dear cousin, I come for you." Blaine hasn't been in the manor since. He thought he wouldn't go back to save his own life, but now that was almost what the situation boils down to. The problem is that no one else will go with him, and even if he had the courage to go alone, he could never find the vault in time. After his little scene outside, Blaine rushes back to the inn and starts pleading with all his acquaintances even. But nothing will persuade the locals to return to the manor. Finally, he is forced to turn to the PCs. Other than his inheritance, Blaine owns nothing of particular value. Most of what money he does have goes to keeping up appearance appropriate to mobility. He has no idea how much wealth is actually in the vault, so paying the PCs for their services could prove a problem. He'll go as far as offering 2,000 gold pieces in old AD&D money to be divided among the group to prove success. If they prove successful, plus any minor valuables found lying about the house, excluding unique family heirlooms, but will not feel secure in promising more. Although Blaine probably made a poor first impression, let's see you hold it together when you hear from the IRS about that million you owe back in taxes, and is extremely naive, he's not a bad sort. When he's not busy panicking, he can be quite charming and quick-witted. He's also more courageous than he gives himself credit for. He may not remain calm and rational in the midst of a fight, but he won't run, especially if it means deserting his comrades. If the PCs accept this job, he will go along with them just to be there, but won't make any pretense of leading the expedition. For the most part, he will remain quietly in the background, trying to stay out from underfoot while the PCs do their job. He won't rush into the middle of combat, but neither will he hesitate to lend a hand if it looks like help is needed. Getting to the manor. If the PCs agree to take the job, Blaine insists that they set out first thing in the morning, though the rain has picked up again to a moderate shower and is threatening worse. He doesn't have any time to waste. Mistmoor Manor lies about 10 miles due west of the village, at the end of an ancient disused road. It sits on the closest thing to a promontory that this marshy lowland has to offer, a broad hill that peaks about 20 feet above the surrounding terrain. The south and east sides of the hill are rocky cliffs, nothing that can't be climbed easily, but impassable to horses. The road winds around to approach the manor from the north. The Ghost.